It's time for the real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
What's going on? It's the real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy's Sports Ticket. It is Friday. We made it. Got a nice show in store. Zach Hicks joining at 11. Usually when he comes on, we talk Colts, but this time we're going to talk a little Super Bowl. Maybe Zack Gray. Hopefully he won't text me back. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully Zack Gray joins at 11:40 to hand out some bets. He's been doing pretty well here as of late. But we're going to start in the world of college basketball. Yes, I know, Super Bowl, it's on Sunday. But it was officially reported yesterday that Mike Woodson is supposed to be stepping down and retiring at the end of the season. Okay, that is probably a good thing. The fact that the report is that he's quote unquote retiring, even though, let's be honest, we all know that he's not retiring. We all know that he is being fired, but saying that he's retiring just saves him a little bit of embarrassment, right? That Indiana athletic department's going to give him a nice, big, fat check to go away and do what he does best. Drink red wine and smoke cigars. Okay, that's what he's about to go do, and he's going to get paid a lot to do it. He's entering retirement pretty well, and I do not feel bad for him at all. Okay, they paid him a boatload of money to show up and lose a lot of games as the head coach at IU. I do feel bad for Indiana fans because it kind of feels like he just kind of stole from the university for the past 4 years. I mean, he couldn't even get to a Sweet 16. Come on now. Not even close to the standards that are held at Indiana when it comes to basketball. Okay, so Mike Woodson is supposed to be stepping down at the end of the season. That hasn't been confirmed until Scott Dolson or Mike Woodson officially say this. I'm going to be a little skeptical, but, we'll have to wait and see what winds up happening. Now we get to this really annoying part of the process. All these conversations on who Indiana should hire, they've already started. And I want to be firmly on the record for this. I don't know who they're going to hire. I don't really care who they hire. If I had my pick, they should hire Dane Fife or Steve Alford. One of those two guys. If they don't hire either one of them, then I hope that they hire someone who will actually come on mine or Dan's show. That for me, that's really all that I care about. Okay, now, all of these conversations are about to start. And because I don't know who they're going to hire, let me just clear it up. They're not going to hire two people specifically, and you're going to see these names thrown out left and right. And if you're one of the people that recommends Indiana hiring one of these coaches, or if you're one of the people that, thinks that this is possible, just say that you don't know ball because you don't. Just admit that you're delusional. Like, if you think that Brad Stevens is about to leave the Boston Celtics to be the new Indiana head coach, then I'm sorry, but you're just a little delusional. Dusty May, he's not leaving Michigan to come fix this mess in Bloomington. Oh, but he was a manager under Coach Knight, and he's from Indiana, and great. He's not leaving. Let's start with Brad Stevens. Let me just very quickly explain why Brad Stevens is not leaving his position as the president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics, a place where he just won an NBA championship as the general manager of one of the three most famous NBA franchises, the Boston freaking Celtics. That is not a job that you leave. That is a dream job for anybody in the world of basketball. He re-signed all of those core guys so they're going to have a chance to be back-to-back NBA champions this year. And if they repeated, I wouldn't be surprised because that Boston Celtics team's really good. By the way, all of the role players that they brought back, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, Drew Holiday, they're going to be back next year as well. They are in the middle of their championship window. They have everything that they need. Jason Tatum, one of the 6 best players in the world. Jaylen Brown, one of the 20 best basketball players in the world. Brad Stevens is not leaving that. You know how hard it is to obtain a top 6 basketball player in the world and a top 20 guy, it's really difficult. Brad Stevens isn't leaving that. And guess what? When these role players that the Boston Celtics have, because Drew Holiday's a little bit older, Al Horford's like almost 40. Okay, when these role players leave, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will still be in their primes. Brad Stevens will have another opportunity to retool and put a team together around those two stars to make another run at it. Brad Stevens is not leaving the Boston freaking Celtics, one of the most prestigious franchises in all of sports. He's not leaving them to come coach at Indiana. It's a great job. It's one of the better jobs in the world of college basketball. But it's not a better job than being the president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics. He's going to stay there for a long time. Okay? He's good at putting NBA teams together. Why would he leave? Why would he leave a job that he's good at with way less drama, because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are a couple pretty drama-free guys? Why would he leave a job where he doesn't have to spend his entire year recruiting like he does for the Indiana job, which is nothing but drama and recruiting? He's not leaving the Boston Celtics. So if you're one of the people out there, one of those Indiana fans that thinks that Brad Stevens would leave the Celtics, just get it out of your mind, because it is not going to happen. Let's move to Dusty May. To be fair, Dusty May is more likely to leave Michigan and come coach at Indiana than Brad Stevens is. Like, Brad Stevens, in terms of the realm of possibility, is at like a 1% chance. Dusty May, more like 10%. But I would still be very surprised if he left Michigan. Okay? Once again, small chance that he leaves, because he was a manager under Coach Knight. Okay? He was, he is from Indiana. But I'd still be shocked if he left, because everything that he can accomplish at Indiana, win a national title, go to a Final Four, all those things, everything he can do at Indiana, he can do at Michigan. It's a good school. They've got some history. Think Fab Five. They have a good team already. Before the Purdue game, he went on Dan's show and he explained how they obtained the NIL money that they need. It's because he went out and he talked to the donors. He basically fundraised. That's really kind of what it sounded like. So he's clearly invested there in Ann Arbor. If important people are giving money to the program, then the program clearly believes in him. He just moved there as well, and he's got a family. He's got 3 boys, I believe. Does he really want to move them again? Moving's not fun. Did it multiple times as a kid growing up with my family. My parents hated moving us every time that we did. And I'd like to think that most parents don't like to make their kids move states after they've only been somewhere for a year. So could Dusty May leave? Sure. Absolutely he could. But I don't think he wants to move his family again. And why would he leave Michigan for the mess that is Indiana basketball? So Indiana, probably not going to hire Dusty May, and you're definitely not going to hire Brad Stevens. So what are the realistic options as to who they could hire? Dane Fife, Steve Alford are at the top of that list. But in terms of popular names that people are going to throw out, like Chris Beard, like he's, probably at the top of the list. He's the coach that everyone seems to want every offseason. Good coach. He took Texas Tech to a national championship game not all that long ago. And I'm fully convinced that if you can win at Texas Tech and take them to a national championship game, then you can definitely take Indiana that far. Okay? He would be a great hire. He'd bring toughness. Those teams would actually play defense. But we'll see what IU does. Okay? But first, Mike Woodson or Scott Dolson has to confirm that Mike Woodson's going to retire at the end of the year. Okay? So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but for me, I think the most viable option to be the next coach in Indiana, if I had to put money down, I would bet on Chris Beard, even though Dane Fife or Steve Alford would be a better hire. Now, despite, Mike Woodson probably retiring at the end of the season, he's still coaching, which I just feel like is not great. Like, I think players want to play for guys that they know are going to be around. But they play Michigan tomorrow at 1 o'clock. If I had to take a bet on anything in that game, I wouldn't bet the over, wouldn't bet the under, wouldn't bet the line, wouldn't do anything like that. If I had to bet on anything, I need a prop bet that asks the question, will Mike Woodson get booed before the first half ends? I would bet yes in a heartbeat. And then I need a second prop bet that asks, will Indiana return from the locker room at halftime to chants of "We want Dusty"? That's what I would bet on. And I would parlay those together and I would make a whole lot of money, because that is fully what I am expecting. Okay? Because student sections can be absolutely ruthless, especially in the world of college basketball, and especially when they're really upset. Okay? So I'm expecting we get some nice "We want Dusty" chants and we get a lot of boos, maybe some fire Woodson. I don't know, but Michigan's better than Indiana. There's simply no way around it. The one good thing, though, about this game is Mike Woodson's going to have a blast coaching in it. So, well, Jonathan, if Michigan's better than Indiana, then why would Mike Woodson enjoy coaching against this team? Because Mike Woodson's going to get to do his absolute favorite thing. His favorite thing in the whole wide world. And that is play two bigs together. Because Michigan plays two bigs together frequently. I mean, all the time. You got Wolf, and then you have the Golden Kid. Man, that Indiana line is not out yet. That's a bummer. So, Mike Woodson is going to get to play Malik Renew and Omar Ballo on the floor together to counter Michigan's 2 7-footers that share the floor together often. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll put Mbako on Wolf. That's probably what I would do, but we'll let Mike Woodson do his thing, but I don't expect for this game to be close. Indiana has quit. I think that they're going to get rolled tomorrow. Okay? Omar Ballo has quit. We saw him do that at the Purdue game. That's why he only scored 4 points in 27 minutes against Wisconsin. Players like Anthony Leal and Luke Goody, they'll continue to play hard, but I don't really expect for anyone else to do that. I think Mbako's going to go out there. Yeah, let me score my 20 points. That way I can hopefully go to the league next year. Trey Galloway's like, let me make a couple highlights so the girls hit me up later. That's kind of what I expect, because everyone in that building knows that they are not good at basketball, and everyone in that building knows that Mike Woodson is likely going to be gone at the end of the year. So why play hard? Oh, well, Jonathan, they should be competitive and have pride. Totally agree. They should be competitive. They should have pride. But have you watched them play at all this year? Because they are not prideful. They are not competitive. They are lazy. That is what they are. Okay? We've seen it in the way that they've played all year. Okay? From, Mackenzie Mbako standing at the free throw line, coming out of a timeout with his hands in the air, asking, what am I supposed to do? To Omar Ballo lashing out at Miles Rice, to Omar Ballo loafing defensively against Illinois. I can keep going. There's so many examples of how dysfunctional and problematic this basketball team has been this year. There's no pride. There's no competitiveness. There's no effort. There's no toughness. And now their coach is gone at the end of the year. They are going to roll over. That is what is coming. It felt like they rolled over against Wisconsin when they were down 26-4 or whatever that score was in like the first 5 minutes. Okay? And sure, they battled back, lost by 12. Whoop-de-doo. They scored a whole bunch of points in the last 2 minutes after Wisconsin had emptied their bench. Oh, man. So impressive. Okay, it felt like they quit against Wisconsin. It felt like they rolled over against Wisconsin. But now I fully expect for it to happen. That line for Michigan and Indiana, it still hasn't come out yet. But I can tell you right now, bet Michigan the whole way. Whatever it is, I don't care if it's 19.5. Bet Michigan. They are going to show up in Bloomington and they are going to roll right over Indiana. Okay, this team is soft. They don't know how to compete, and this game it's not going to be close. It's not. Like, I would genuinely be surprised if Indiana won any more games this year, really, because their schedule is incredibly tough. It's Michigan. They've got Purdue coming up again here pretty soon. Like, it's a lot of tough games. And this is not a tough team. Like, it's not. Like, they play Michigan on Saturday, and then they turn around on Tuesday, and they have to play Michigan State on the road. They're not winning that game. And then they get UCLA at home, who, despite Mick Cronin doing all of his whining, his team slowly started to come around. They're not beating them. And then they host Purdue. They're not winning that one. And then they host Penn State. Penn State will put 90 up on you if you're not careful. And then they travel to Washington. And then they're at Oregon. Those are two tough games. And then they get Ohio State at home to end it. Like, that's like, none of those games are easy. None of them. And I'm going to be very surprised if they win one of them, because I think they're done. I think that they're just going to roll over and just kind of wait for the season to end, and then we'll get to see who Indiana decides to hire at the end of the season. Huge news in the NBA. Ben Simmons has been bought out. Oh, he's a free agent. Anybody can have him. Bidding war is coming soon. Can't wait to see who he signs with. Something that I legitimately can't wait for is the Super Bowl. We have the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Zach Hicks, he's joining me at 11 o'clock, and we're going to talk through that. I'm going to throw in my Jonathan Taylor theory as well. Very intrigued to kind of see what he thinks about that. Still waiting on a response from Zack Gray. Hopefully he's going to join at 11:40. And if he does, then I'll have bets for you at the end of the show. When we come back here in about 4 minutes, we'll get into the Super Bowl, what has to happen for the Eagles to win, what has to happen for the Chiefs to win, and then, of course, my official prediction, all that coming your way here in about 4 minutes.
Unfiltered takes live here. The Real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice time this week. Super Bowl coming up a couple days away. I can't wait to go to a Super Bowl party and have people talk during the game and chew food loudly in my vicinity. It's going to be great. I just love Super Bowl parties. Anyway, I do love the Super Bowl itself. I do. Okay. Eagles, Chiefs. I can't wait. Okay. What has to happen though for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl? They're 1.5 point underdog. I know who I'm picking. I'll tell you at the end of this. You probably know who I'm picking as well. The Eagles have to get Saquon Barkley going. Like it is imperative for them to do so. And they have to generate explosive runs with him like they have all year. The reason why they beat the Rams is because they had 4 rushing touchdowns of 40 yards or more. Those big explosive plays just make offense easier. We saw that with Anthony Richardson this year when he was able to complete, a 30-yard pass on a drive. It seemed like the Colts scored on that drive. Okay, offense is just easier when you generate big plays. Okay, most teams do that when they throw the football. But the Eagles have been so dominant running the football this season that they generate a lot of their big plays on the ground. In fact, they've done it more on the ground than anyone else in the NFL this year. Saquon Barkley was second in the NFL with 17 rushes of 20 yards or more. He was first in the NFL in rushes of 40 yards or more with 7. Jalen Hurts also had 7 rushes of 20 yards or more. This is a team behind a great offensive line, the second best offensive line in the NFL behind the Lions. This is a team that really excels at generating big plays in the run game, and that has to happen for them. Okay, it's not as important for the Chiefs because they have Patrick Mahomes, who does these weird Mahomes things where he just figures out a way to score. He doesn't need a 30-yard play to really make that happen. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts, good quarterback. Not elite, though. Okay, he needs a couple explosives to set up a couple easy scoring opportunities. He's a good quarterback. But if he's relied on the entire game to dink and dunk his way down the field consistently, and this, the Chiefs defense is able to turn this into a Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes type game, then I love the Chiefs' chances. Okay? Jalen Hurts is capable of carrying the Eagles for a couple drives. Like if you ask Jalen Hurts to make the 4 or 5 plays that you need to win the game, like he can do that. But if you ask him to be the guy all game, I don't think he can do that against this defense. Okay, Saquon Barkley has to bust a couple big runs to relieve some of the pressure off Jalen Hurts. Like that has to happen, right? Or maybe it's Devontae Smith taking a screen pass for 30 yards, or A.J. Brown winning at the line of scrimmage and Jalen Hurts hits him on a go route for 40 yards. Like they have to have things like that happen to be able to take some of the pressure off Jalen Hurts, right? Then all the other things have to happen, right? They got to win the turnover battle. They got to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. They have to pressure Patrick Mahomes. They need to score touchdowns, not field goals, and all those other cliche things have to happen as well. Because if you want to beat the Chiefs, you better play perfect. Like that's basically what you have to do. The biggest thing, though, is they have to generate these explosive plays on offense. Okay, it can be in the run game or the pass game. I just highlighted the run game because they've been the most explosive in that area this year. And then on third and got to throw it, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, Jalen Hurts has to make plays because you know that on 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9 for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes is going to make the plays that he needs to in order for them to win that game. Okay, if those two things happen for the Eagles, if they can generate explosive plays and Jalen Hurts can be good on 3rd and 8 and more, then they will be in great shape. Okay, this defense for the Eagles, I think, is going to have success. They're just simply too talented not to. Okay, so if the Chiefs surpass 28 points, I'll be surprised. That's how good this Eagles defense is. Okay, so for the Eagles, big plays, Jalen Hurts has to be great on 3rd and 8. Now, what has to happen for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl? The game has to be close late. That is the most important thing for them. They do not lose close games. They've won 17 straight one-score games. That's it. That is an NFL record. Which that's an absurd thing. That's just an incredible stat. Dates back to last year when they beat the Bills in the AFC title game. Okay, they've won 17 straight one-score games. The most important thing for the Eagles is probably to have a 2-score lead at some point in the fourth quarter. Even though Patrick Mahomes has a winning record when down double digits, he's actually 5-2 in the playoffs when he's down 10 points or more. But, I don't think the Eagles would be upset if they were up by 10 points or more in the Super Bowl at some point. Okay, if this game's close late, then the Kansas City Chiefs will win. That is what this dynasty has been about. Them just making a couple extra plays when games are close late that their opposition does not. That's just what they do. It's what they've done all year and last year. They haven't lost a one-possession game all year. Incredible. If the Chiefs are down and they're going to have the ball last, then they're probably going to win because Patrick Mahomes is just a stud. Patrick Mahomes led the NFL this year in game-winning drives with 7. And he led the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks with 5. If he has a chance late to win the game, then he's going to win it. He is going to. Because that's just who he is at this point. And if he has the ball with an opportunity to put the game away, then he's probably going to do it because he's Patrick Mahomes. And this is just what we expect of him at this point. And you say, well, Jonathan, what if the Chiefs defense is on the field? Oh, then Steve Spagnuolo is going to dial it up as he does every single time. If the Chiefs defense needs a stop, then they're probably going to get it because this is just what they do and who they are. We just saw them do it in the AFC Championship game against Josh Allen, who's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. If this game is close late, give me the Chiefs every time. Okay, now if they want to keep it close, then they have to make Jalen Hurts beat them. Okay, you can't allow for Saquon Barkley to run for 150 yards. If he does that, then you're probably going to lose. Okay, you can't allow that. Jalen Hurts is more than capable of making the 3 or 4 plays that he needs to beat any team in the NFL. So the Chiefs need to make him make 10 or 11 of those type of plays. If they can do that, then it'll be close late, and they'll be able to do what they do. And it'll wind up in them probably winning the game for the 3rd straight year, winning the Super Bowl, being the first team to three-peat. Pat Riley will make a ton of money on the three-peat shirts because he patented that, which is incredible. My official prediction is I'm taking the Chiefs -1.5. In games like this, where either team is good enough to win, I'm just going to take the team that I won't feel bad being wrong about. If the Eagles win this game, then I will not feel bad in the slightest about picking the Chiefs. I'll just be like, I picked the team with the better quarterback and the better head coach. Got no issues there. But if I pick the Eagles and the Chiefs won and covered, then I'd just be kicking myself. I would be. I'd be like, really, Jonathan? How dumb are you? Seriously, like that would be my reaction. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. I'm not betting against Andy Reid for abundantly clear reasons. Just look back at the last 2 seasons. Okay, I'm not betting against either one of those guys because all those 2 guys do together is win games. It's simple. That is just what they do. When Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are together, they win. Okay, so give me the Chiefs. They win. They three-peat for the first time in the history of the NFL. I think they're going to win 27-23. The field goal kicker for the Eagles has had a really rough year. So I think he misses at least one extra point, which I think will be really funny. And it'll be great. The Chiefs will win. The confetti will fall. Andy Reid will get dunked in Gatorade. And then, they'll pass the mic around and Andy Reid will be like, I'm going to go eat a cheeseburger, because that's usually something that he says. So probably like, I'm going to get extra bacon on it or something like that. Travis Kelce, he's going to propose to Taylor Swift at midfield. There's going to be a million photos of that all over the place. If there's a Swiftie in your life, I'm sorry. And then the best part, the most glorious part, my favorite part, will be how people complain about the referees on social media all off season. It's going to be glorious. It is. Like, I can't wait to watch all of these people just complain consistently about the referees. It's just it's going to be great. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. I love conspiracy theories and how people think that the refs cheat for the Chiefs. It's, really smart people think that. So, yeah, so I got more stuff on the Super Bowl when we come back here in about 4 minutes. I've got some prop bets for Fun List Friday, just some props that I might sprinkle a little bit of money on. Purdue plays USC tonight, and Reggie Wayne missed the Hall of Fame. Once again, people are upset about it, but there's a couple other guys that the fact that they didn't get in is absolutely stunning. So when we come back here in about 4 minutes, I'm going to give out some prop bets, and we're going to talk a little NFL Hall of Fame.
The best takes. The real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice week. Thanks for tuning in no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to subscribe there, it's free. You can also follow me on Twitter at _ Jonathan Smith. We stream the show there as well. You can also listen to the stream over on the Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you find your apps. And you can also listen via 1430 AM if you're in that Indianapolis area. All right, Super Bowl prop bets, and then we'll get into the Hall of Fame. These are the ones that I like. If you want to send me some of the prop bets that you like, are you betting heads or tails? I don't know. I'm more of a tails guy myself, but I don't know which way I'm betting on that one yet. I am going to bet first touchdown. I'm going to take Travis Kelce at plus 850. I do think that when teams get to the Super Bowl, they want to go with what they know. They want to go with the thing that has been consistent. And Travis Kelce has been incredibly consistent his entire career in Kansas City. Okay, he is the man when it comes to catching the football. He's second all-time in receptions in Super Bowl history with 37. They're going to find him in this game. Like, it is going to happen. I think they find him in the end zone, and I think he scores first. So I'm going to take Travis Kelce plus 850. Another bet I'm taking Saquon Barkley, 2+ touchdowns at plus 260. Once again, teams in the Super Bowl want to roll with the thing that they know. They want to roll with the thing that's been consistent. And for, the Eagles, Saquon Barkley has been the epitome of consistency. He was named the Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL last night, as he should have been, right? Because he was an absolute stud this year. Okay, so I'm taking him to finish with 2 or more touchdowns. I can be receiving or rushing. The Eagles are going to look to get him the football. There are no games left after this. There is no preserving anybody. Saquon Barkley should get 30 touches in this game. And if Saquon Barkley touches the football that many times, chances are he's going to score twice. So I'm going to take Saquon Barkley to score 2 touchdowns or more. There's a prop bet just to record a sack. Chris Jones at plus 136 kind of feels like free money to record 1 sack. The best interior defensive lineman in the entire NFL. To get 1 sack, Chris Jones, I'm going to take him to do that at plus 136. Instead of betting the Chiefs at minus 1.5, I'm just going to take Patrick Mahomes to be the Super Bowl MVP at plus 120. If they win, he'll likely be the MVP. So make a little extra money that way. So I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes plus 120 to be the Super Bowl MVP, get a little bit more bang for my buck. We're also going to take Patrick Mahomes at plus 40 rushing yards. Plus 40 rushing yards. Look, you guys know how it is. He sits in the pocket all year, doesn't really run around in the regular season, and then all of a sudden in the playoffs, he uses his legs a little bit more. He'll scamper for 11 yards on 3rd and 10 when they really need a first down. We saw him run a read option in that game against the Bills. Von Miller crashes down. He pulls it, and he takes off into the end zone for a rushing touchdown. Okay. Like, this happens every year. Mahomes is like, no, I'm a pocket guy. Let me just hang on the pocket. And then all of a sudden the playoffs happen, and he's running around all over the place. He's obviously not Lamar Jackson or anybody like that, but he's more than capable of being able to run with the football. So we're going to take Patrick Mahomes over 40 rushing yards at plus 195. And then finally, we're going to take Saquon Barkley over 125 rushing yards at plus 140. I wish there had been a bet on will Reggie Wayne make the Hall of Fame this year, because I would have bet no. And I would have been correct. Reggie Wayne not in the Hall of Fame. And look, Colts fans are upset. I get it. He was a really good receiver here in Indianapolis for a long time. Now he's a not very good wide receiver coach. So it's great. But Reggie Wayne missing the Hall of Fame isn't near anywhere close to the same level travesty as Luke Kuechly and Adam Vinatieri not making it. I just I saw those two guys on the ballot, and I just how those guys didn't. It doesn't make any sense. Let's start with Luke Kuechly. He was the best linebacker in football for his entire career, except for his rookie year. He was named to the All-Pro team every year that he played, except for his rookie season. And his rookie season, he was the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He helped lead the Carolina Panthers to a 15-1 season. They appeared in the Super Bowl, and they lost. That dude was an absolute stud. Absolute stud. His biggest downfall was he played for Carolina. If he played for, the Cowboys or whoever, he would have been a first ballot guy. No doubt in my mind. Okay? Luke Kuechly undoubtedly should have been in the Hall of Fame. The fact that he didn't get put in is the biggest. He's the biggest snub of anyone who got snubbed last night. The other guy who got snubbed last night is Adam Vinatieri. How does the all-time leading scorer in the NFL not be a first ballot Hall of Famer? A guy who made multiple big kicks in the playoffs, both the Patriots and the Colts. Okay, that kick, that field goal that he makes when he's playing for, New England, and there's 4 inches of snow on the ground, and he figures out a way to put it through the uprights is it's iconic. Everyone who enjoys football knows that play. So yes, Reggie Wayne not getting in, it's a travesty. Oh man, what a time. But look, Reggie Wayne was a great number 2 receiver. If Marvin Harrison isn't around, his numbers are better. He probably goes in sooner. All that kind of stuff. But Reggie Wayne wasn't snubbed. Adam Vinatieri and Luke Kuechly were the ones who got snubbed. I'll get Zach Hicks' thoughts on Reggie Wayne not getting in. Later on, I'll get Zach Hicks' thoughts on Reggie Wayne not making the Hall of Fame here in about 15 minutes when he joins the show just to talk Super Bowl and all those things. The other thing going on in the world of sports relative to the state of Indiana, Purdue plays USC tonight. Indiana fans, if you want to watch and enjoy some good college basketball, if you want to watch a well-coached team that actually plays hard and does all those important things, then you should watch Purdue play USC tonight. Okay, Purdue hosts USC. So they're playing in West Lafayette. Purdue was a 13.5-point favorite last night. I do believe that line just continues to go up. Just continues to head up. And look, I can tell you right now, I would have taken USC at plus 13.5. Last time I checked, it was at 14.5. It went back down to 13.5. So I would bet them. No, without a doubt in my mind. That is the team that I would bet. I would take Purdue to win, but not cover. 14 points against USC is a lot. That is a ton of points. Okay? Eric Musselman is one of the best coaches in college basketball. He's going to put together one of the best game plans you will see all year on how to defend Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn. Okay, this is what Eric Musselman does. Okay, he is a better defensive coach than he is an offensive coach. Trust me, I know. I watched him win a whole bunch of games at Arkansas for 5 years. Okay, watched him take us to 2 Elite Eights and 3 straight Sweet 16s. Okay, where Arkansas would have to play against really good opponents and just really good individual players. Eric Musselman is going to have USC very well prepared for Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn and everything else that Purdue is going to throw at them. And I know this because USC can beat anybody because I've seen them beat really good teams in the Big Ten. I saw them beat Illinois. I saw them beat Michigan State. And if you can beat those two teams, then you can beat anybody. Is USC super talented? Absolutely not. Okay, we know that they're not super talented because they lost to Indiana by 13. Okay, saw it happen. To be fair, USC did have not one but two players missing in that game. Okay? They've had time since then. One of the players missing in that game was a forward who is out for the rest of the year. He's a double-digit scorer, all those things. They've had time since that IU game to kind of figure out kind of how to adjust without him in the lineup. And after watching Eric Musselman coach at Arkansas, I know that he is going to figure it out because he's, like I said, he's one of the best coaches in all of college hoops. So USC is going to be incredibly well prepared. Once again, if you are an IU fan, I beg you to watch this game. That way you can just remember what it's like to watch a well-coached basketball team, because USC is going to be very well coached, and so is Purdue. Both teams are going to be very, very, very well prepared. Purdue's going to win this game. Make no mistake about it. They are simply just too deep and too talented for a team like USC. Okay? Purdue is going to win. But 13.5 is a lot of points to cover against a team like USC that's going to be very, very well prepared, that's going to have a good game plan to defend Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Wren and play what I believe to be a very intense level of defense, because that is the calling card of Eric Musselman. Well coached and a team that plays great defense. Okay, that is what I am expecting from Eric Musselman and USC tonight. They're going to be really tough on Purdue, but Purdue's simply going to be too talented for them to lose that game. So, yeah, Zach Hicks, he's set to join the show here in about 10 minutes. We're going to talk Super Bowl. I've got a Jonathan Taylor trade theory that I'm going to throw his way. I discussed this a little bit yesterday, but if you missed the show yesterday, that way you know what I'm talking about. I firmly believe that if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, the Colts should trade Jonathan Taylor because the stock on running backs will skyrocket. Owners, GMs will look around the league. More specifically, they will look at the Eagles. They'll realize how great Saquon Barkley's been this year. They'll be like, running backs, kind of important. Maybe we need one. Maybe if, we have a good running back, like maybe we'll win a couple more games. You probably won't, but that's going to be the thought process, I think, of these teams after the Super Bowl, especially if the Philadelphia Eagles are the team that finds a way to win. Because if they win, it's probably going to be because Saquon Barkley had a really good game. Okay? I mean, that's kind of what I'm expecting from the Eagles. And if this happens, then I do think it would be very smart for the Colts to trade Jonathan Taylor, because Jonathan Taylor is a great player, but like the Colts would have been mediocre with or without him. Maybe instead of going 8-9, they go 7-10. Really not a huge difference there. Okay, you don't need a great running back to win games, and when you're in the middle of a rebuild like the Indianapolis Colts are, then you don't need a running back. You need a good left tackle and a new center, because Bortolini really struggled as the year progressed. You need a new safety, Julian Blackmon, good player. Don't really need him though. Okay, he hit the free agency market as well. Like trade Jonathan Taylor, bring in a legitimately good safety, or trade Jonathan Taylor and get a second round pick and then address your position of need in the draft, or trade that second round pick for a couple more picks. I don't know. I don't care. What I do know is that the Indianapolis Colts don't need Jonathan Taylor to be mediocre. Okay, running backs are icing. Running backs are what you go get when you're in a similar position to the Eagles. The offensive line is solidified, one of the best in the NFL. You've got your guy at quarterback that is going to be your starter for a decade. You've got two good wide receivers. You've got a really awesome defensive line littered with pass rushers. You've got a couple good linebackers. You have a new corner in Quinyon Mitchell who is going to be great. You've got Darius Slay on the other side who's still really good despite being 34, and you like the guys that you have at safety, guys like CJ Gardner-Johnson. Like when you've addressed everything else, then you go and get a running back. The Colts are doing this backwards. Like why? Like you don't need Jonathan Taylor right now. He's coming off a good year where he just ran for 1,400 yards and double-digit touchdowns. Sell high. Jonathan Taylor, he's coming off a great season. The value of running backs is about to go up. Trade him. Go and get something better, something that helps you win right now. Because if you're Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, like, you have to win right now. Because if you don't, then you're probably going to be fired at the end of the season. So that is my Jonathan Taylor running back trade stock theory. Okay, move him now, sell him high, get as much as you can in return, and then use that to actually better the team. Go get a receiver or a corner or something that's actually going to help you win these games. So Zach Hicks, he's going to join me coming up here in about 5.5 minutes or so. We're going to talk about that Jonathan Taylor running back or that Jonathan Taylor trade theory. And we're also going to talk, obviously, the Super Bowl. Can't wait. I think the game's going to be awesome. These are probably the two best teams. You know, the Eagles are 14-3. The Chiefs are 15-2. If the Chiefs win on Sunday, they will be the third team in the history of the NFL to win the Super Bowl and win 18 games in a season. That they would join the 84 49ers and they would join the 85 Bears as the only three teams in the history of the NFL to win 18 games and hoist the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year. So Zach Hicks coming up when we come back here in about 5 minutes.
It's time for the real Jonathan Smith Show. This is Indy Sports Ticket 1430 AM, 93.9 HD2, and always on the free Indy Sports Ticket app.
The real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Twitter, 1430 AM, or that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you get your apps. Joined now by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts. And usually when Zach comes on, we're talking Colts, but that's not really the case today. We're talking Super Bowl. Zach, what's going on, man? How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Unfortunately, the Colts are not playing this weekend. It's very unfortunate. I really thought they had a good chance, but not happening. So, yeah, fun time watching some good teams this weekend, though, for sure.
Yeah, a couple really good teams. Before we jump into the game, I have a, not really theory, but I have something that I think the Colts should do.
Okay.
If the Eagles win, I believe that the value of running backs will be the highest that it's been in like the last 5 years. I think the Colts should capitalize on that. Trade Jonathan Taylor, bring in, a second round pick, maybe a good player, and use that pick to address a real position of need, because I just like the Colts with Jonathan Taylor went 8-9 this year. If they didn't have him, they'd probably go like 7-10. I just don't think he's worth that many wins. What do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we actually were having this conversation not too long ago on Locked On, but not actually. No, I think it was about Jonathan Taylor. Actually, it's pretty funny to think about. Where Jake, my co-host, was saying something about how I think it was about Taylor. Yeah, where it was like, if you're not going to win with him, like, and he's not responsible for that many wins, like, you can move on. But like, to me, that argument does kind of get hurt by the fact that it's like, you can't just get rid of every good player just because you're not ready to win right now. Because then when you are ready to win, like, you're not going to have any good players, like when you get that quarterback, you still need to have good players around that quarterback. And I'm not saying that the Colts particularly had that guy on the roster. Like, we'll see if Richardson can take the step. We have no clue. But yeah, I don't really fall into the category, even with running backs necessarily, where it's like, if you're not going to win with this good player right now, move on from him. Now, it is interesting, though, with running backs, like you mentioned, where the value is going to be very high, especially if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, because we saw what Saquon Barkley was able to do for that offense. And Taylor was arguably the best running back in football for the last month of the season this year. He has that kind of trend recently. It looks like the last 2 Decembers, he's probably been the best running back in the NFL. The past two Decembers. So you could maybe sell a team on that, and maybe you do want to sell high and try to address, other aspects of the team with that. But I don't know. To me, it feels like if you're really going to give this Richardson thing one last try, if you're going to really try to, make a push for the playoffs this next season, I think it's better to do that with Taylor than without Taylor. But again, if someone wants to, give you like a high second round pick or a first round pick for Taylor, then maybe you do consider it. But it is an interesting aspect. I do think that's always, trades should always be on the table. Like, if someone gives you something that absolutely warrants it, then make that move. But to me, I think I would probably lean towards keeping Taylor, just because, again, I think your team's just better with him. And heck, I mean, if we want to be purely pessimistic here, I don't want Chris Ballard with another second round pick. Like, his second round picks recently have been, what has it been? A.D. Mitchell this past year. Juju Brents was in there. I guess Alec Pierce was a second round pick, so he's been pretty solid. But I don't know. You're telling me any of those second round picks are better than having Jonathan Taylor? Like, that might be the real breaking point right there.
That's a valid point. Joined by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts, talking about, could the Colts potentially move Jonathan Taylor if the Eagles win the Super Bowl? My thing is just, I don't know, like, I would rather have a really good linebacker or a better corner than Jalen Jones, or a new safety to come in than have a guy like Jonathan Taylor, who I think is easier to find a replacement for, just because running backs seem to be everywhere,
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree with you. I do think there is, a conversation to be had about that. If the offer is on the table from another team, we still just don't know, like, if there are any offers on the table. Like, we don't even know what it was. Like, I know in this theory that we're saying that, like, Taylor's value is higher than it's ever been, but, like, I remember when the Dolphins were considering trading for him, like, there was all that rumors about the Dolphins trying to trade for him, and I think the Packers were involved in trying to trade for Taylor during the contract holdout stuff. We don't know if any of the offers even got up to a second-round pick in that. I think maybe the Dolphins one did. I can't remember exactly, but so, yeah, I mean, I do think there is a conversation to be had if it is like a second-round pick and some change, but if it's not that, it's just tough, man. Like, I'm firmly in the mindset of when you have a good player or and a better than good player like we've seen Taylor be, I just don't like losing those players,
Yeah.
It's such a simplistic way of viewing football, but I know we can do all the analytic stuff and, like, let this guy walk for this guy, but for me, the kind of simplistic thing I look at is, like, is this guy a plus impact player for my team? I'd rather have him, not have him. Like, if there are situations where we can get better from moving him, sure. But again, I love the draft season, and I love getting into draft and saying, like, give me an extra second round pick and I can make this work. But trading a former, all pro Bowl type running back like Taylor and getting a mystery box that has not been hitting recently for the Colts, I don't know if that makes them better,
Yeah, no, it's a totally fair thing. I was just kind of curious your thoughts on it, because, like I said, like, the running back market is going to be higher than it ever has been if the Eagles win. If they don't, then we'll kind of have to wait and see what happens.
Well, one thing, just to interrupt real quick, thing I will say that kind of helps your point is this running back class looks awesome.
It does.
In the draft. So maybe part of your thought process there is we just want to get off this contract, open up more space in free agency to make, like, a move for a Tarvarius Ward, and then we can get, like, Hampton from North Carolina in round 2 with that Taylor pick, and maybe we drop off a little bit at running back, but the payoff is getting a Tarvarius Ward in
for sure.
free agency, or the payoff is getting Trayvon Moehrig from the Raiders at free safety. Like, I could totally see that, but it has to be something where you have, like, those other things lined up. Like, if you have those other things lined up, and I can look at it maybe in hindsight as a fan and be like, you know what, moving Taylor kind of sucks, but you get a guy like Hampton who's maybe like 80% of Taylor, 70% of Taylor, and you get a plus impact at corner or safety. Cool. I totally get it. But, I do think some fans want to just trade just for the heck of trading. And it's like, you got to have some other things on top of it, which, that's always the bigger part of the conversation there.
It is. And like you said, there's a ton of good running backs in this class.
Yeah.
Judkins, Henderson, Scatterbo, JT, just so many guys that can really play, joined by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts, talking Super Bowl and potentially trading Jonathan Taylor in the offseason. Before we talk Super Bowl, why hasn't Reggie Wayne been put in the Hall of Fame yet?
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like, and I'll even say this, I don't have, like, that nostalgic bias towards Reggie Wayne that I think most Colts fans do, because I grew up a Washington fan, and when he was up against, like, Andre Johnson, for me personally, I leaned Andre Johnson there. Like, just as a fan growing up watching different teams, Johnson was, like, the better player in my mind. But these last 2 years, I think it's the last 2 years, I think Johnson won in 3 years ago. It's kind of just been like, what are we doing here? Especially with, like, last night, I didn't even realize they changed the rules until yesterday.
Yeah.
That they like, why are you trying to emulate baseball, which has the worst Hall of Fame process? I'm not even a huge baseball fan, but the worst aspect of Major League Baseball is the way they do the Hall of Fame. It is absolutely atrocious. They have years where nobody makes the Hall of Fame. Like, it is so stupid. So to kind of emulate that a little bit with the NFL and have this percentage-based thing and having a Hall of Fame class of, like, 3 guys, like, what are we doing? Come on. I know it's a bit watered down right now, but it's better than the baseball alternative. And as a result, you limit guys like Reggie Wayne who, look, Reggie Wayne, maybe he's not a Calvin Johnson level of receiver, but he's a darn good wide receiver that should be in the Hall of Fame. And he's been waiting forever now. And I know there was the wide receiver backlog, but get him in the Hall of Fame at this point. Like, come on. Like, it's been long enough. I understand making him wait a couple of years because he's not a first ballot guy, but he's, one of the top 15 to 20 wide receivers to ever play the game. Like, what are we doing here? Why is this guy, not even just him either? Like, is it Torrey Holt that's still waiting too at wide receiver? Like,
I think so.
Yeah, like, what are we doing here?
How about
these guys in the Hall of Fame?
How about Adam Vinatieri and Luke Kuechly not getting in?
Yeah, like I understand because they were both first ballot guys, right? I think they were both first ballot. Yeah, I understand them maybe having to wait a year because, like, it's kind of what you do with the Hall. But then again, Kuechly.
He was all-pro every year except for his rookie year. In his rookie year, he was the defensive rookie of the year. Adam Vinatieri is the all-time leading scorer in the history of the NFL. Those guys.
He's a kicker. I can't. My stance on kickers. I can't.
Yeah. But he was great in New England, and he's got like iconic kicks in the playoffs. Like, if there's any kicker that should be first ballot, it's that guy. Right.
No, especially with the only other guy who would have potentially been a first ballot, having some unsavory things come out about him recently.
Yeah.
But Vinatieri, if anyone's going to be the first ballot, for sure, him. And even Kuechly, like, literally mid-sentence, I was like, well, maybe he should have been first ballot. He was that good. I don't know. The NFL Hall of Fame, it feels like it was so watered down and not great, but it was still like a fine process. And in trying to, like, fix the watered down process, now it's going the other way, just making it worse. So I don't know, man. I don't like the new process at all. I wonder how long it'll stick because, I mean, a Hall of Fame class of 3 guys and then 1 veteran committee guy, that's just terrible, especially when you have so many good players waiting.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Who's winning on Sunday?
Ooh, man. I mean, you have the 2 best defensive coaches probably in the league in Fangio and Spagnuolo. You have, a great offensive mind, Andy Reid. You have some superstar talents in A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Travis Kelce. I mean, these are 2 of the most loaded teams in the league. But for me, I can't remember if we did a show like this last year. I think we talked about the Super Bowl. But, like, it comes down to the quarterback to me.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, at the end of the day, who's going to make those couple plays, especially when you factor in Mahomes and his career is just so darn efficient on third downs and big money downs, that when those, like, 3 to 4, like, win percentage impacting plays happen in this game, which quarterback is going to make those plays? And it's going to be Pat Mahomes in my mind. So I could totally see a world where the Eagles win this because they have so much star talent on offense and their defense is just awesome. Like, Vic Fangio has those guys playing out of their mind. But at the end of the day, it's hard to bet against the back-to-back champions with the best quarterback, with, all the experience in the world, with Spagnuolo at defensive coordinator, who, I mean, heck, he might solidify himself as the best defensive coordinator in the history of football if they win 3 in a row with the way he's got this defense playing. So, I mean, I have to go Chiefs in this one, but I think it's going to be a fun game. I think both these teams are really, really great, fun teams, and I'm excited to see how it all plays out.
Joined by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts, talking a little Super Bowl. I am too. I'm very intrigued. Like, the Andy Reid, Vic Fangio chess match is going to be so much fun to watch. What I'm very curious to see is, like, I guess I'll ask you, how does Kellen Moore perform in this game as an offensive coordinator who's probably going to be the head coach of the Saints here soon?
Yeah, I think he's going to be one of the biggest X factors, and how creative he is in getting the ball to Saquon Barkley. And again, like, we know how Spags works as a defensive coordinator. Like, he's going to bring a lot of exotic things. He's going to do everything he can to limit Saquon Barkley because right now that's, like, their whole offense in a lot of ways. So how creative can they be in getting Barkley those touches, outside the tackle box, like in the passing game, out in space, and letting Barkley do his thing? It's going to be a big test for Kellen Moore. And we saw, years ago, the last time these 2 teams played in the Super Bowl, there was an offensive coordinator for the Eagles that had a head coaching job lined up after the Super Bowl, or was leaning that way, much like with Kellen Moore. And Steichen coached a pretty good game against the Chiefs. They just came up a little bit short. So can Kellen Moore do kind of the same thing in terms of giving his team a chance to win? Because look, if this game goes the same way the last time the matchup between these two teams went in the Super Bowl, you take that every time if you're Philly, because it was essentially a coin toss late in the game. It was a very, very 50-50 game. It came down to a bad penalty by the Eagles defense late. That was the difference in that game. So if you can get it to that point again, you'll take your chances every time. So if Moore can just kind of emulate a lot of what Steichen did, lean on the run game, lean on the vertical passing game with Hurts, lean on, now he has a superstar running back that Steichen didn't have back then, then I think they can have a pretty good chance.
So you just said that what decided that game was a late penalty on Philadelphia. Are you blaming the refs?
No. I am not the rigged NFL type that you want to call on here. Look, I think refs stink. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're just bad at their job. That was what their defense was, I think, to the media the other day, right? It was like, we don't rig the games. We just are bad at our job. And I'm like, yeah, true. Very true. But I think it's kind of like the LeBron and Jordan thing. Like, yeah, they get some foul calls extra go their way because they put themselves in positions that most people can't be put into. Now, Mahomes does do the late slide thing.
He did it once against Houston, and people went crazy. He was much better against Buffalo, to be fair to him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, sure, there is a little bit of a ref bias towards Kansas City, but, like, in every sport, the best teams get a little bit of bias because there's that intrinsic thought that they're going to be, like, in a better situation, So, I don't know. I don't think it's, like, abnormally crazy where, like, the Chiefs only win because of the ref. I think it's just refs suck, and the Chiefs win because on offense on third down they are like historically like an insanely great third down offense. They have a high success rate. They have a quarterback who in every clutch situation comes up big, and they have guys who have been there, done that, and won this thing a couple times. So they just know what they're doing. Like, that's why they keep winning. The refs are certainly a part of it, but if they're not driving this thing, it's Mahomes, Spags, and Andy Reid that are driving this thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Joined by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts. Like, the referees aren't throwing 30 flags a game on the opposition. Like, it's still Mahomes making plays, Andy Reid and Spags dialing it up whenever they need to, and like that is why they're winning games, and it's why I have them winning this Super Bowl, because, like you said, they've just been great on third down. And Mahomes, because it's Mahomes, and he just, like, if it's 3rd and 9 and no one's open, he's going to run for 9 yards, and if someone is open, then he's going to make the throw. What does Jalen Hurts have to do for the Eagles to win this game?
I think the biggest thing is play a clean football game, and very coach speak there for sure for me, but, like, you can't be giving Mahomes extra chances. The biggest way to limit them is to make sure that whenever they are getting the ball, they're getting it on their own 20, their own 30, rather than getting it on the 20 or 30 going in from turnovers, or failed fourth downs or whatever. Be clean with the football, convert your fourth downs, and keep that Chiefs offense backed up. So they have to keep going up and down the field rather than having these short yardage situations. Let them have to make mistakes on their side rather than giving them freebies. And then just those, I said it in the kind of the opening, but, like, those 2 to 3 plays a game that swing the win percentage, whether it's a 3rd and 10 on, like, the 35 going in, and you have to convert that to keep it going or something, or like a 4th and 1 at midfield, whatever it is, those couple plays that really determine a game that a quarterback has full control over. He has to make those plays, because on the other side, Mahomes is going to make them. And that's why they win so many games. That's why they lost 2 games this season. They barely lose ever. They're in their 3rd straight Super Bowl because Mahomes makes those plays. So if you want to beat them, if you want to go toe-to-toe with them, Jalen Hurts needs to make those couple plays. I don't know when they're going to happen. I don't know what quarter they're going to be in. I don't know what the situation is going to be. But when they arise, those fourth downs, those long third downs near field goal range, like, he's got to at least get something on those, because if you don't convert them, the guy on the other side of the field is going to.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Joined by Zach Hicks of Locked on Colts. I was talking about that earlier, and I'm very curious to see how this Chiefs defense is going to try to defend Saquon Barkley, because I think that they're going to try and capitalize on exactly what you were saying. Like, I think that Jalen Hurts is a good enough quarterback that if he needs to make 3 or 4 plays for Philly to win, then like he can do that. But if he has to make like 7 or 8, then I love the Chiefs' chances. How do you think the Chiefs go about trying to slow down Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, it's interesting because if the Eagles didn't have so many great weapons at wide receiver, I would say just bring everybody. Because I don't think Hurts is really playing at the level to where he's going to beat the blitz every time. But because you have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith on the outside, it's like if you want to bring everybody every play, you leave one-on-ones and you leave those vertical jump balls with AJ Brown, where if Jalen Hurts is throwing like 5 of those in the game, AJ Brown's probably coming down with 2 to 3 of them. Like we saw it in the NFC Championship game, that all-out blitz on like 4th and 9, AJ Brown goes up and gets it for like a 40-yard conversion, and the game was essentially over after that. So I do think it's interesting from Spag's perspective, where you need to be very creative with how you approach this shutdown Saquon, but also don't bring like 8 guys on every play type of approach. I think really they just need to get very physical with these receivers at the line, maybe keep one guy deep, but then the rest of the guys, your linebackers and your safety that you have in the box, you do want to be aggressively fitting that run. And like, look, if you give up a couple of underneath completions as a result, that's fine, as long as you're taking Barkley's legs out of the game early. And then watching for those RPOs, again, just getting physical with the tight ends at the line, getting physical with Brown and Smith at the line, making sure those RPO reads aren't as clear. So you're forcing late handoffs, which could lead to more tackles for a loss. I think that's kind of the approach that he'll go about. But I do think when third downs come, you're going to see that super exotic Spags defense. So if you're Philly, stay out of 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. At least get those positive yards early. If you can get into 3rd and short, you have a better chance, obviously, like all offenses. But Spags is the one DC where if you get into 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, you're going to see like this exotic 5-man blitz with some inverted zone coverage that you can't beat. Like he's just a wizard over there on that side of the ball.
He is. Last question for you, Zach, and I will let you go. Joined by Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts, talking a little Super Bowl. How many touches does Saquon Barkley have total? Rushes and receptions.
Man, game flow is going to be a bit of a factor here, because if the Chiefs go up by like 10 in the first quarter, then you might see Philly press a little bit more, throw a little bit more, and get it out. But I don't know. We have seen them kind of stick to the run and stick to Barkley in some of these games, even when they're trailing, where it's like just force feeding Barkley. And then you got to factor in that he's probably a lot more healthy now than what he was in the NFC Championship game, because he didn't have many touches against Washington, right? I think it was only like 18 touches, like 20 touches in that game, because he got banged up early.
They also scored 55 and didn't need him late.
Yeah. Well, we had what was it? Will Shipley had like a 70-yard run late in the game. Like anybody was running against Washington of that one. But yeah, no, I think we'll at least see him get to like 25 to 28 touches in this game. Just like, even if they're trailing early, you'll see like a 7 or 8 catch type game from Barkley, because you got to get it to your playmaker. Yeah. I think Philly's a good coach team, because especially on offense, they do keep things relatively simple, where it's, if you're going to blitz us, we'll just throw a jump ball to AJ Brown. If we need a quick conversion, we'll isolate Devonta Smith. If we are on 1st or 2nd down, we're just going to run a zone read or a duo up the middle with Saquon Barkley. Like, they don't overcomplicate things on offense, because they have so much star power on that side of the ball. So I do think they're not going to be one of those teams that overthinks it and says, oh, they think we're going to run it, we're going to throw it 20 straight times to start the game. Like, no, you think we're going to run it, we're going to run it. Like, try to stop it. We have, this rugby player that's 500 pounds at left tackle that moves like any running back in the league. Like, try to get around him. We're going to run it right behind him with Saquon Barkley. So I do think it'll be like 25, 28. And heck, if they have a positive game flow, I think it could get 30 plus if they have a lead early.
You mentioned Philly being very simplistic offensively. Isn't that kind of concerning if you're about to go up against possibly the best defensive coordinator in the history of the NFL?
I think to a degree, sure, but what's the one thing we always hear people say is players, not plays, and such.
Yeah.
We hear that with Steichen a lot, obviously, because
Yeah.
Steichen is very much, this play is going to get a guy wide open. But it might be Zach Hicks out there running the route, so we'll see if he can catch it. That's kind of what Steichen's philosophy is out there. Where I think Kellen Moore has kind of embraced the simplistic aspect of it, and yeah, I think to a degree there will be certain plays where Spags just has it locked up and Hurts will eat it or throw it away. But I do think there will be several plays where Spags brings a blitz and you have A.J. Brown isolated on a vertical route and he's like the only guy running the route. And you'll get a big time completion because they were like, heck, it's A.J. Brown. We'll just throw a jump ball. So I think it will be a kind of a push and pull. And we'll see, though, in those couple like win percentage plays where it comes down to, Hurts needs to make a play. Can they out scheme or out talent the defense? That'll really be where that that philosophy comes to a head.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I can't wait. I think we're going to have just an awesome, awesome game. The Chiefs are going to three-peat. Travis Kelce, he's going to propose at midfield. It's just it's going to be great. I can't wait. Zach, thanks for your time as always, man.
Yep, thanks for having me, bud.
See you. That is Zach Hicks. You can check him out on Locked On Colts. You can also follow him on Twitter at Zach Hicks too. When we come back here in 4 minutes, the YouTube chat throwing out names for who should be the next head basketball coach at IU. I just got to bring it down to earth a little bit. I'm going to talk about who Indiana should hire as their next head coach, and more importantly, who they have no chance at hiring as their next head coach when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
The best takes, stories, and entertainment. It's The Real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indy Sports Ticket. Thanks for tuning in, no matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket. If you want to head over there and subscribe, it's free. Twitter @__ Jonathan Smith. You can follow me there, and you can watch the live stream there. You can also listen via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you get your apps, or you can just listen on 1430 AM. Just driving around Indy. It's great. Mike Woodson, rumored to be stepping down. John Buzzard weighing in. He said, welcome to the point of IU basketball where they are excited to get to fire a coach and start throwing out wish list names. The only weird caveat is the worry of embarrassing a guy with the midseason firing that lazily treated a coveted position like a retirement gig. Very well said there, John Buzzard. So these reports are coming out that Mike Woodson's going to be stepping down at the end of the year, but he's going to finish coaching this season. Indiana's going to give him a nice big fat check to go away, drink red wine, and smoke some more cigars. Okay, he's going to enter retirement very, very pleasantly. Very, very pleasantly. Okay, I do feel bad for Indiana because Mike Woodson showed up. They paid him a bunch of money to lose a lot of games over the last 4 years. I mean, he couldn't even get Indiana to a Sweet 16. Like, come on, even Tom Crean did that. Now, all of these conversations about Indiana basketball have pivoted. Who should they hire? Who should they hire? I think we should get this guy. Oh, well, I think we should hire this guy. Look, I don't know who they're going to hire. Okay, I think they should hire Dane Fife or Steve Alford. If they don't hire either one of them, then hire someone who will actually come on my show or Dan's show. That's honestly all I care about. Like, just give me someone who will come on my show. So because I can't tell you who they're going to hire, I'm going to tell you who they're not going to hire. So don't throw their name out. If you throw their name out, if you recommend either one of these two coaches that I'm about to say, just say that you don't know ball, or just say that you're a delusional Indiana basketball fan. Okay? Because I've seen these two names thrown out repeatedly, and I would be stunned if either one of them ended up as the Indiana basketball coach next season. Number one is Brad Stevens. He coached at Butler forever ago. It's been like a decade since he was at Butler. And he's not leaving the Boston freaking Celtics to be the new head coach at Indiana. It is not going to happen. And Dusty May is not leaving Michigan to come fix the mess that's in Bloomington. Let's start with Brad Stevens. He just won an NBA championship as the president of basketball operations of one of the most famous sports franchises in the world, the Boston Celtics. Okay? He re-signed all of those core guys that they won the title with last year. They are going to have a chance to repeat this year. And a lot of these players on the Boston Celtics will be back next year as well. They are in the middle of their championship window. Okay? He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere because as soon as these older role players, guys like Drew Holiday, Al Horford, Derek White, when those guys retire, because it'll happen at some point, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will still be in their primes. And they'll have another chance. Brad Stevens will have another chance to put a team together around those two stars to make another run at it. Brad Stevens isn't going anywhere. He's going to be in Boston for a long time. He's good at putting NBA teams together. Why would he leave a job that is incredibly prestigious, right? President of basketball operations of the Boston Celtics. Why would he leave that job where he deals with way less drama because his stars are pretty low maintenance in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Why would he leave that job where he doesn't have to spend all year recruiting like he would for the Indiana job? Okay? Like college basketball just seems like it's nothing but drama and recruiting for these head coaches. He's not leaving the Celtics. So get that dream of Brad Stevens coming to IU out of your head. I know he said it'd be a dream job. Whatever. Do you want to know what a dream job is for anybody in basketball? Hey, do you want to be the president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics? Oh, and by the way, we already have not one but two guys that can really play. One's a top 6 basketball player in the world. The other one's a top 20 guy. He's not leaving. Brad Stevens is not coming to Bloomington. It is Not going to happen. So just go ahead and ignore all of that. Okay. The other guy, Dusty May. To be fair, Brad Stevens leaving the Celtics is like a 1% possibility. Dusty May's probably closer to 10%. Okay. So Dusty May would be more likely to leave Michigan than Brad Stevens would be to leave the Boston Celtics. Okay. But I would still be shocked if Dusty May left Ann Arbor. Everything he can do and accomplish at Indiana, he can do at Michigan. Okay, Michigan's a good school. They have a good team. They've got some basketball history. They care about basketball at that school. Okay, he went on Dan's show before the Purdue game and explained how they obtained the NIL money that they needed. It's because he went around and he talked to all the donors and he basically fundraised it himself. Okay, so he's invested. The donors there clearly believe in him, which is now, I think, the most important part of having success at any job. You had to have donors that believe in you and are willing to give you money to go get the players. And he clearly has that at Michigan. Also, his team's really good. Okay, they're going to blow IU's doors off tomorrow. A game is not going to be close. Okay, he also just moved there. He's got a family. Does he really want to move his family again for the second time in 2 years? Moving is not fun. I did it multiple times growing up with my family. My parents hated moving us every time that it happened. And I'd like to think that most parents don't like forcing their kids to get up and move states. Okay. Could Dusty May leave? Sure. But I don't think he wants to move his family again. I get it. Oh, he was a manager under Coach Knight. Yes. Great for him. Sure. I'm sure he learned a lot from Coach Knight. It's probably why Michigan's winning a bunch of games. But once again, why would he leave Michigan? A place where he can accomplish everything that he wants to accomplish for the mess in Bloomington. Because he's from Indiana. Yeah, sure. I just don't think that that's a good enough reason for him to want to move his family again. Once again, when he's at a place where he can accomplish everything that he wants to accomplish. So let's be realistic about this. Who can Indiana really go hire? Okay? Like, seriously. Also, John Buzzard in the YouTube chat, if you want to drop that list of good recommendations, go right ahead. Everyone in the YouTube chat, Indie Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there, subscribe and comment who you think Indiana should hire. Just don't say Brad Stevens or Dusty May. Don't do either one of them, okay? Jeez. Realistic options, okay? Go get Chris Beard. That is a realistic option. He seems to be the coach, by the way, that everyone wants every offseason. Okay. He's a good coach. He took Texas Tech to a national title game. If he can take Texas Tech to a national championship, then he can definitely take IU there. Okay. I have no doubt about that. But first, before this head coaching search starts, Mike Woodson or Scott Dolson has to confirm this report about Mike Woodson retiring. So don't get too far ahead of yourself. I am very intrigued, though, to see kind of the names that get thrown out there. Okay. Bruce Pearl, I've seen his name a little bit too. The Bruce Pearl thing is interesting. I know he coached a Division II team here in Indiana at one point, but he's got Auburn rolling. Like, they're the best team in the country. It's a good place to coach. They care about basketball there. They pack the stadium when Auburn is good. Why would he leave when he's got it absolutely rolling? I get it. It's Indiana, and everyone apparently wants to be the head coach in Indiana. I just don't think that would really happen. Okay, Bruce Pearl would be an awesome hire by anybody, especially Indiana. But when he's got it rolling the way that he does at Auburn, I don't know why he would leave. Okay, Indiana, they play Michigan tomorrow at 1:00. That game is not going to be close. Okay, I wish they had prop bets for us to bet, because I would bet these two props. I would bet on Mike Woodson getting booed sometime before the end of the first half, and I would bet that at the start of the second half, when teams come out of the locker rooms, that they would run out the chants of "We want Dusty." That's what I expect. from the game. I do not expect for this game to be close. I do expect, though, for Mike Woodson to have a blast coaching this game. This is going to be the most fun Mike Woodson has had coaching all year because he's going to pretty much have to play two bigs at all time. He's going to get to play Malik Reneau and Omar Ballo because Michigan plays 2 7-footers. Okay, they're going to be like Mike Woodson's going to be beaming over there. Like, I get to play two bigs, and you guys can't complain about it because we got to combat the size. Even though they could just play McKenzie and Baco and have him guard Wolf, but I mean, hey, who knows? But I do not expect for this game to be close because Indiana's quit. Like Omar Ballo quit at the end of that Purdue game, walked off the floor, didn't shake anybody's hands, lashed out in the huddle. Players like Anthony Leal and Luke Goody, they'll continue to play hard and all that good stuff. But I don't expect anyone else to do that because everyone in that building knows that Mike Woodson is likely gone at the end of the year. So why play hard? It's like, oh, well, they have pride and they're competitive. Have you watched them play this year? Because I would not say that this team plays with very much pride or competitiveness. Okay, like they just don't. Like we've seen the lack of effort. We've seen the lack of toughness. We've seen the lack of togetherness. We've seen Omar Ballo walk back to defend the rim after a loose ball against Illinois. We saw him lash out in the huddle against Purdue. Okay, like we see, we saw McKenzie and Baco stand at the free throw line against Maryland with the game on the line with his hands in the air. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like we've seen all these mishaps. They've happened all year, and they just seem to have compiled throughout the season. Like more and more seem to happen every single week. And then last week, or earlier in the week, we see them play Wisconsin, and they start the game off going down 26-4. This team's done. They are going to roll over. It felt like they quit against Wisconsin. Oh, but Jonathan, they only lost by 12. Like they played hard in those last couple minutes. Oh, you mean when Wisconsin pulled all of their starters and they had like 3 walk-ons out there? Yeah, that's big time stuff right there. I don't know what the line is yet. It's not out, but I'm betting Michigan the whole way in that game. Okay, Indiana is going to come out flatter than the state of Kansas, and they're going to get their doors blown off. Someone who won't get their doors blown off, though, are the Eagles or the Chiefs. I expect this to be a very competitive Super Bowl. It's going to be a blast to watch. My thoughts on the Super Bowl, what the Eagles have to do to win and what the Chiefs have to do to win when we come back here in about 4 minutes.
Unadulterated sports talk with unfiltered takes. It's the real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy Sports Ticket, 1430 AM and 99.5 HD2.
The real Jonathan Smith Show on Indy's Sports Ticket. Hopefully you're having a nice week. Thanks for tuning in. No matter how you're tuning in, whether that's YouTube, Indy Sports Ticket, if you want to head over there and subscribe, it's free. Maybe you're watching on Twitter, __ Jonathan Smith. If you want to follow me there, maybe you're listening via 1430 AM or via that Indy Sports Ticket app, which you can download wherever you get your apps. John Buzzer throwing out the name Josh Schertz, former Indiana State head coach, who's now at St. Louis. Could he be the next coach of Indiana basketball? I would love that. Like, seriously, I mean, he'd be willing to come on mine or Dan's show. I think he's got a very modern approach, pace, space, all five guys on the floor, being able to pass the basketball, all the things that I personally like. But we'll run all these recommendations by Dan, and then we'll figure out whether or not they're good calls or not. Eagles, Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'm taking the Chiefs -1.5. That is my official pick for today. That is my official pick. Chiefs -1.5. Just because Mahomes is going to make 3 or 4 plays that Jalen Hurts simply isn't. Yeah, I mean, that's just the very simple reality of it. Patrick Mahomes is going to make the 3 or 4 plays that Patrick Mahomes seems to always make for them to win these games. That is the very simple reality of it. And that's why I'm taking them -1.5. I think Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback, and I think Saquon Barkley is a great running back. You can make an argument that he's the best one in the NFL, and I probably wouldn't argue with you. I wouldn't argue with you at all. And so, that's great. And this Eagles roster is amazing, but I just think that we've learned, don't bet against Andy Reid. Don't bet against Mahomes, especially if you don't have a great quarterback on your team. Because when we look at the history of the games that the Chiefs have lost in the playoffs, it's been to Tom Brady, the best quarterback ever as of right now, and Joe Burrow, who's one of the 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL. That is just the simple reality of it. And I like Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not any of those guys. And the difference in this game is going to be the difference we see in every game. And it's Patrick Mahomes is going to make a few plays that Jalen Hurts doesn't. And part of that's going to be when Jalen Hurts has an opportunity to make those big plays, Steve Spagnuolo is going to dial it up and going to ruin whatever chance the Eagles thought that they had at winning this thing. And it's going to be amazing. I can't wait for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in a row. The meltdown is going to be incredible. It is. I mean, it's going to be amazing. And I cannot wait to see all the people blame the refs, because you know that there's going to be one call that's kind of questionable and people are going to freak out about it. Travis Kelce's going to propose at midfield after the game, and people are going to freak out and be upset about that. And it's going to be amazing. I'm going to be smiling the whole time because I can't stand Philly. So it'll be great. But, the Eagles, they're going to have a chance to win this game. I think in order for them to do it, Saquon Barkley is going to have to touch the football 30 times. He's going to have to touch the ball all the time, whether that's handoffs or swing passes or whatever they want to do with him, because he is their best player. And to win games like these, your best player has to show up. And that's why, I love the Chiefs in this game, because their best player is Patrick Mahomes, and he's going to touch the ball every single snap. So how do the Eagles get Saquon Barkley involved? Are they able to just line it up and run it? Because if they can do that, then they're going to have an excellent opportunity to win this game. But this Chiefs defense is nasty. Chris Jones is the best defensive tackle in football. Okay, Karloff is coming off the edge. The Purdue grad, that's a really good player. That's a very good edge rusher coming off the edge for them. The Chiefs are going to have good players, and they're going to be very well prepared for this game. The extra week is huge for them. because I do think that they have an advantage in the coaching as well. Like Andy Reid's a better coach than Nick Sirianni. I don't think anyone would push back on that. Okay. Andy Reid's a better play caller than Kellen Moore. Vic Fangio and Steve Spagnuolo, those are the two best defensive coordinators in the NFL right now. No way around it. Like those are two excellent coaches, and I can't wait to see the chess match between Andy Reid and Vic Fangio, and I'm very intrigued to see what Spags does to try to combat what the Eagles want to do, and that's run the football with Saquon Barkley and give A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith chances with one-on-one coverage. Like that is what they want to do. I'm very intrigued to see what the Chiefs do to combat it. It's going to be a great game. Can't wait to watch. Can't wait for the commercials, right? The commercials are usually great, but we'll see. We'll kind of see how it all goes. The Dan Dockett Show is coming your way, coming up here in about 5 minutes. We're going to get into all sorts of stuff. It's going to be great. A lot of Super Bowl, a lot of IU basketball, and everything else under the sun in that regard. The Dan Dockett Show comes your way here in about 5 minutes. There's just a ton of stuff for us to get to. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to tune in. I'll be back on Monday from 10 to noon to give you my thoughts on the Super Bowl, IU basketball, and more. Make sure you subscribe to the Indie Sports Ticket YouTube channel, and I'll talk to you on Monday.